Today's AskReddit post: what are the disadvantages of being too smart? Oh boy, this is gonna be a good one. Let's get started. Knowing how stupid you are. Someone says, how did you get so smart, and you're constantly thinking, I hardly know anything about this topic. Once in a while you go to a subreddit that covers a topic you think you're pretty good with, and then you realize that some of the people there have forgotten more about the subject than you've ever known. It's good to keep yourself in check. I'm in science and I keep half-assing poop and keep getting rewarded with grants, and inside my brain says WTF. I am just making poop up. I have no clue what I'm doing. Stop rewarding me being a ducking idiot. Imposter syndrome. I got it real bad too. I often think I might suffer from imposter syndrome, but sometimes I worry that I'm just a fraud, making the whole thing up in my head. Being labeled a smart kid early on and having huge pressure put on you to succeed continually. Or being labeled a smart kid and thinking you'll always be smart if you don't work for it. Yep, I'm in my 30s and still have no idea how to study. Yep, if Feynman's algorithm 1 has always been enough, it can become a lot more challenging when you find a problem you can't apply it to. 1. A satirical problem-solving method proposed by famed physicist Richard Feynman. 1. Write down the problem. 2. Think very hard. 3. Write down the solution. 2. Google. Knowing you are smart enough but don't have the discipline to apply it and achieve something great, because everyone else has had to work much harder up to this point to meet acceptable standards. In the middle ground of being smarter than most people, I'd say not learning how to learn at an early age. What I mean is everything in school being pretty easy and you don't really need to try that hard until maybe GR 12 or first year of university, and then all of a sudden it's a lot harder and you have to learn how to learn. Senior year of high school was the first time I ever struggled with a class and I had no idea how to cope. Granted, it was AP calculus, but still. My dad couldn't understand why I was struggling so hard, but luckily my teacher was actually the husband of my school district's elementary school gifted teacher, and so he knew the struggles gifted children go through once we hit the point where stuff doesn't naturally come to us anymore. How does one overcome this? Any advice? You actually have to learn how to study. Before college I had never actually read a single thing in a math book, or most textbooks for that matter. That wasn't a problem that needed solving. First year of college I had to learn how to gather info from the book itself. What eventually worked for me was reading the chapter before it was taught, going to the lecture and then rereading the chapter after the lecture. If by then I still didn't get it, I would hit the professor's office hours with a particular question. This method still took a while to train myself to learn. Before college I was geared to just going to class and getting it. In college I had to learn how to get it myself. Now I can just pick up a book and work my way through the material and learn it, but it took a fair amount of practice to get there. I did find that I needed to study less and less each year I was in college as I got better and better at self-learning. YMMV. Didn't ask the question, but thank you. Your mind never seems to stop. Unfortunately, several find the off switch in the bottle and prefer off to on. I can promise you that you'll eventually find a way that's not at the bottom of a bottle. It can be at the bottom of an empty bag of weed too. Weed tends to send my already loud mind into overdrive. I generally have a loud mind but do smoke weed regularly. I found it can go both ways depending on the strains. Whilst a good majority have my mind going at 150%. I have found a couple good indica strains that just straight up knock me out over the years. I understand if it's not possible to search for such strains in your situation, or if you consider it too much a hassle, but it can be a great help for me from time to time when anxiety hits and I need something to calm down all the thoughts I'm having. You analyze too much. It's inhibiting. Damn, nitpicking everything to where it seems to have no substance anymore. People may assume you're being an ass if you correct them about something, or if you speak with all the big words. If you dumb it down, for lack of a better word, you're being patronizing. Sometimes it's a lose-lose scenario. Man, this hits home. I tend to have a pretty expansive vocabulary and I make full use of that when I wind up in an argument. More than once I've been accused of trying to seem smart by using big words. It's especially true online, because of course it is. Some arguments go wide when they can't go forward, online ones especially, as they quote you back and attack in detail. Being concise counters that but calls on rarer words. I've also been asked if I talk such a way I roll. Yes, but I don't know many pedantic dummies I roll, so only online do I have to get this technical. Me lord. I usually never do those kind of comments, but gosh dang it, that's absolutely me to the last letter of that comment. Being socially maladaptive. Not understanding people because you predictively assume more than they say by projecting your thought process on them, etc. Realizing that a large percentage of the population is incredibly stupid and will never even be smart enough to comprehend it, or understand anything else that's not low level and totally simple. And I'm no Einstein myself. It's just something I've noticed having lived on this earth for 43 years as someone of decent intellect. My new motto has become, be kind to everyone, for they are all stupid, asterisk, which kinda resonates with what Jesus said when they crucified him. Forgive them, for they know not what they do, asterisk. If we are at all made in the image of God, and God loves everybody, and there sure are a poop ton of dipoops out there, then maybe God is at a poop, too. Loneliness. Living entirely in your head, with no one to talk to about things that interest you at the level you want to speak about it. Yeah, and sometimes worse. Afraid to mention certain things because you know it's going to be reacted to very badly and there's just no sense starting WWII over it. Perceiving the world in a very different light than around 99% of people around you and therefore feeling like you don't belong, and alone. Filtering everything you say or do because you really don't want to come off as condescending or pretentious. Don't use your big words because they might know what they mean. Not always giving the answer or sometimes giving the wrong one so someone else feels smart. Seeing how everything fits and works but having to wait for most of the people to catch up. A lot of waiting, and if you help them then you are the bitch who is trying to embarrass them. Drinking in frustration to dull the knowledge that you can see how all the puzzle pieces work but being powerless to do a single thing about it. Yup, intelligence as a woman is a minefield of male ego traps. You're constantly on watch to make sure no man feels like you're too smart, or condescending to them by knowing more things than they do. Oh yes, you are very intelligent. You really should have kids adopt to raise smart children as well. Maybe you could raise the next senator, president, billionaire with how very smart you are. I feel so bad for my wife, who is way smarter than me and her peers at her work. Get taken advantage of with additional workload and ad hoc supervisory roles with no compensation, all the while smashed up against a glass ceiling. You are so used to easily passing tests without work when you are young that you don't feel the need to study as you get older and your grades end up decreasing. Source: personal experience. I can't agree more. I passed everything with flying colors, being on honor roll every year until freshman year of high school, in which I was mostly at C's and B's. Then, first semester of last school year, sophomore year of high school, was the first time I nearly failed a class, with me having a C and absolutely bombing the semester's final, only getting 4 out of 30 questions correct. The only good thing to come out of this year for me was the pass-fail system of second semester. Imposter syndrome sucks. You basically assume that everyone has your knowledge, and somehow have more on top of that because they were less lazy and studied more, and despite whatever amount of effort you put in, since you did it, it must be the bare minimum effort that everyone else put in. Yes, I know calculus, differential equations, root finding, and of course I know about Hilbert spaces, numerous decomposition of linear systems, probability distributions, log time to exp time algorithms, context-free grammars, how Google works, how your operating system works, what exactly is causing your float errors, how unit propagation can stop your model from blowing up, and 3 to 6 different programming languages depending on my workload. But that's all basic stuff. Everyone knows that. Your description is flawless. I couldn't possibly agree more. I assume that, since everyone is always saying get your work done, don't cheat, be successful, that, upon doing this, we would probably be on the same page. Nope. Apparently they decided to just say that, while doing absolutely none of it themselves. Not even that, they hold it against us that they don't know this stuff. And X200B. Some max tier griefing if it was intentional. But it's genuine stupidity. So it's somehow our fault. Your description is flawless. Actually I missed an S somewhere in there. Having an existential crisis at age 12. Edit. Damn, some of y'all had depressing childhoods. I wouldn't call myself smart, but I threw a fit in the middle of the city once I realized that my life literally didn't matter and everyone I love has to die someday. Imagine a kid walking along the street with his mum, and suddenly it starts screaming and crying and screeching. The mother has no idea what happened because she didn't even say anything wrong. The kid is screaming about his father and mother dying and asking himself aloud why he is even here if he can't prevent it. Of course I said it differently and not in English. So anyways, my poor, confused mum had something to laugh about, and I have to. OMG, when I was about 7-8 I started crying as my mom put me to bed, and when she asked what was wrong I said I want to die young because that's easier than losing everyone I love when they die. My poor mom must have thought I was suicidal. You realize how much you don't know. Also, how loud the people who don't know are. That super tough guy might just be an unmitigated dumbass. Idiots won't be the ones to fix a problem, but you can be damn sure they'll be the first to create or call one, even if it doesn't exist in the first place. Yep, 100%. I don't know about actually being too smart, but the disadvantages of believing you're too smart are many. The most immediate one that comes to mind is coming off as an insufferable little poop. Dunning-Kruger effect. If somebody thinks they're too smart, they're most likely not that smart, if not an idiot. People always assume you know the answer to everything, then get mad at you when you do know the answer because you know it all. Don't ducking ask me a question if you'll be mad that I know the answer. Or they also get mad at you if you don't know the answer because according to them you're supposed to have the answers to everything. It's far more challenging to embrace the whole ignorance is bliss thing. At least sober. I'd love to ignore things, to not think, but I feel like it's not only a problem smart people have. I think it is human. Realizing deep within yourself that nothing matters. This has nothing to do with intelligence but rather with a particular worldview. Agreed. Intelligence in the academic sense is not the only kind that matters, nor does it inherently imply that you will reach the conclusion that life is meaningless or whatever. I don't find people that think they are so smart because of how cynical they are very appealing. If anything, it shows a lack of imagination to me. Like, really? You're so smart that you're just gonna wallow in self-pity over how pointless life is? If life doesn't have any built-in meaning, make your own. Get a hobby or something. Sheesh. It also, I feel, generally shows a lack of emotional intelligence, which is pretty important for human beings too. I don't really care how good at math or physics or whatever someone is if they're a total dick or completely insufferable. There will always be someone who is just as good as them academically but also knows how to get along with people. And those are the people I would prefer to know. Giving up trying to explain things so you just get really tense to hold it all in. Also spotting argumentative fallacies easily and not being able to call them out. You can't even tell them that they're too dumb to understand how dumb they are being, because it just sounds like an insult. They'll take it to heart instead of on board. Being not smart. Sounds stupid, but let's say you got something like an 149 IQ and just aren't using it. You would be so scared to disappoint everyone by not using your potential or just ending up as something not worthy. Nah, this is me in a nutshell. My IQ is absurdly high and I'm a chef, because I like doing that more than any type of academia. Yeah, that was more like my story. It is just exactly like that. I sorta have the need to make something good like a doctor or tax consultant lawyer. I don't think I've ever disappointed anyone with my career choice, and I honestly wouldn't care if I did. Having to develop the patience to deal with the majority of other people. This is a good one. Lazy AF. A tendency to overthink everything, especially when you lie awake at night analyzing people's reactions and replies to something you did said. Who are you and why do you sound exactly like me? Loudly crying face. Loudly crying face. Great minds overthink alike. Right, plus if I analysis their facial reactions whenever they say something, I can usually get a lot more information out of them and know when they say something yet mean something else. It's like a cheat code because everyone can fake a smile, but you can't fake happy eyes. Dealing with people. Most people aren't very smart, and I encounter two problems frequently that come to mind. 1. People aren't very smart and don't like it in general, no matter how it's realized. 2. People are really bad at pretending. I can read people quite well, and I'm a good judge of character. I know pretty quickly if my values don't align with someone else's, and won't befriend them. I frequently encounter people pretending to be nice to me because we're in the same social circle or something, and fully believing they are succeeding. So I have to pretend to be nice back even though I know they don't like me, because if I ruin the fallacy, I'm the bitch. Like, we don't like each other. Cut the crap and be normal, fake polite, not the yo we're friends. Buddy buddy. Bull poop. I know we aren't friends. And yes, I don't have a large circle of friends. I don't enjoy being friends with a lot of people because there's a lot of socially acceptable qualities that bother me. I'm a very honest and justice oriented person, and that just doesn't work well in my age group. You can call me picky. I just value people that have similar standards to myself for treating people, and a lot of stupid people are selfish or weirdly unethical, immoral. Your last paragraph hit the nail on the head. The sacrifice people make to be popular is soul destroying. In school, everything is easy, so when we're presented with an actual challenge we give up immediately. Also, I want to die every day. You can message me if you want to talk. It's okay. I don't want to annoy anyone. I am very smart about to have a field day in here. Reddit gets so ducking cringe-worthy when intelligence is brought up. Someone ought to make a bingo card for threads like these. It could have spaces for mentions of the Dunning-Kruger effect. Last name, S-Law, IQ. That user bragging about their IQ that for some reason is always in the 140s. Someone who thinks they're an expert on intelligence testing itself. Poor school systems. And depression. I just read through a sizable chunk of this thread and everything you mention is brought up throughout it, haha. That bingo card is a genius idea. Arguing with stupid people is a waste of breath on your part. No matter how simply you explain something, they don't understand it, then accuse you of being the stupid one, and or being called dumb for being interested and excited over a topic that many people find boring or unimportant. It's harder to conversate about things you really want to talk about with people simply because they do not hold the same interest in the topic as you do. You're left in your thoughts, alone, and the things people do want to talk about is gossip, who they're ducking, social media poop, and going out to drink party. I guess that's not just limited to intelligent people, but a larger amount of people who experience this is intelligent in some way. Conversate. Larger amount of people. Ironic? Sorry, lol. Social alienation. The same disadvantage as any minority. The majority hate you. The more educated you become, the more of your rights you see slip away from you. People coming to you first for answers before doing a little search, in which you turn around and search it for them, using double the energy and time. Basically, becoming inefficient for everyone. Then they act put off when you literally give them a screenshot of what you found as if it was a personal attack that you reminded them that all of the information is on the internet. Let me Google that for you is the best passive aggressive tool. You're not too smart, and that's okay. And anyone who answers on behalf of people who are too smart in this thread probably isn't either. Because people who actually strive to be don't generally hold themselves to the worldview of comparing IQs. Considering yourself too smart is a sure way to slash your motivation to keep learning and improving. It implies you think you've reached a limit over others. Focus on the details. Be curious. Don't be afraid to say you don't know something. Put in the time. And be aware that there's always places to look for new information. Edit. When I was in school I used to think I was pretty hot because I could win a lot of subjects and get good grades. But coming out of that I realized that actually really hurt me. It meant I hadn't practiced the motivation to really keep building on what I knew when faced with larger problems and skills. It took me a long time to really learn how to focus and truthfully examine how much there was I could be improving in myself. This genuine and good advice is at the very top of controversial. What the duck? It's because everyone just wants to circle jerk to their fantasies of being enlightened beings. Suggesting otherwise doesn't comport with their personal mythologies where they're quintessentially Rick from Rick and Morty. Both empowered by their mental prowess and powerless to avoid what they perceive as its natural consequences. Loneliness and angst. Stop trying to shine the light of reason in our dank cave. We prefer to rationalize our own maladaptive behaviors until we're forced to confront the reality that we've accomplished nothing over several decades of telling internet strangers how smart we are. A lot of jobs, surprisingly, are going to be out of reach. Some places do not want, especially police, military, corrections, etc. Mostly places with a clear hierarchy. People with too high of intelligence. They can be afraid that you will be too willing to question policies. Try to find more efficient ways of doing things that they don't want to change. And would be the one to stir up the pot because you're too smart to blindly take orders without questioning. Worked in a care home kitchen one summer in my university days. I raised a concern about the welfare of the residents to the care home manager. And after that I was labeled a problem employee. Generally it was the kind of environment where the employees who followed orders succeeded, and those who dared question the system were seen as troublemakers. I think it was what contributed to me being let go in the end too, as I didn't last long at that job. The more detail you notice, the less you enjoy. This isn't really separated into smart and dumb. Even a generally stupid person can have that one area of life they know a lot about. My mum's partner for example would never claim he's intelligent, but he's a damn good tradesman. He can look at a doorframe from across the room and tell when it's a degree or two out of line. Imagine walking through life noticing that every doorway is crooked. You can replicate this yourself. Think of your favorite song, the lyrics, the singing, the drums, the guitar. If you really pay attention you'll notice off key or offbeat notes all over the place. An example most people will know, the famous synth riff in Billie Eilish's Bad Guy. I duckin' love that riff. But then I noticed two of the finger snaps are slightly offbeat and it's like nails down a chalkboard to hear it now. Sounds more like OCD. I enjoy the details. It's fun to find the mistakes and imagine what went into them. What shortcut? What oversight? What piece of human nature? As a writer, I can imagine the other writers' process when I watch TV, read books. Why they did certain things, made certain decisions, how they could have done it better. It's perspective. Thinking you're smart. Being uncomfortable having higher marks because it could make the ones that didn't had a good mark feeling bad. Notes equals the grade score marks on school performance ratings. Most of the time overthinking stuff or finding a harder solution and doing it rather than the easier one. I am not Einstein or anything, but I am much smarter than the people in my group of friends and it sucks not being able to laugh at everything like they do. I am a silly person that laughs easily, but sometimes it's impossible to laugh with them. For example, they laughed when they found out the planet Uranus existed, at 19 years old. There is a line between laughing easily and just sheer stupidity and not knowing something. I imagine that's what it's like on a more advanced scale for smarter people. I have approximate knowledge of many things, but I usually find I don't feel stupid when I'm hanging out with some anesthesiologists or anything, even when they're talking about really advanced medical stuff. And I fit in because I always ask what they pulled out of PPLS butts and they have a good laugh. Satellite engineer friends. Yeah, they know a poop ton about sending something into orbit or at least building it, but they don't know how to brew beer. IDK anyone who is super smart in more than one or two fields. I think it's weird to think someone is so smart that life is hard for them. BC, I think part of being smart is knowing how to adjust. I do find it annoying hanging out with PPL I consider not smart though, so I understand what you mean, but I just don't hang out with those PPL anymore. I see most smart people are dumb ducks because they're not smart enough to realize when they're stupid. I'm not going to waste my time explaining it to a p-brain such as yourself. Great B8M8IR8, 8/8. TL/DR thinking that everyone else is stupid and getting annoyed when someone answers a question incorrectly. It sounds rude, but it's the reality of it. Thinking that you're too smart and losing perspective of what's in front of you. Seeing everyone else as dumber than you will only lead you on a lonely path filled with missed opportunities to connect with others. I'm on that path too, but now because I think I'm smart or better than anyone else. Just about the opposite. I think I'm not as smart as people think I am and I'm terrified of speaking to people. You get too confident and then start spouting bad information. I do better on tests when I don't study. I'm in high school. It's going to come back to bite me though. People prey on you to fail miserably. Bro, you actually watched the whole video. I'd give you a high five if I was a human. Make sure to click the like button and subscribe for more great content. See you next time.